Namaskaram everyone, I'm Pranav and I welcome you all for my today's video. I hope you all are doing amazing and great. As I mentioned in my previous video, today I'm going to talk about 5 stages of grief. Let's get started. At some point in life, grief touches every human being. It's not just about losing someone we love. Grief is there when relationship breaks, when we are betrayed, when we go through abuse or exploitation, also when trauma comes suddenly and changes our life. I want to share about 5 stages of grief not just as a psychological concept, but through spirituality, science, and real life examples. Because grief is not just an emotion, it touches the soul and the body, and we are not alone in this experience. And trust me, talking about grief itself is healing. Let's start with very first stage. It's called denial. And denial is not weakness. It is our mind's way of protecting ourselves from shock. In spiritual terms, denial is like a soul shielding itself. It refuses to accept the reality because it's not ready yet. Denial is like a veil that Maya places on us so that we can digest the pain slowly. Also, science calls denial as a coping mechanism. It's a brain's way of shutting down the painful input. In our brain, there is this tiny thing called amygdala. It is the one that processes the fear and danger. During those moments, it fires intensely, and prefrontal cortex is where all the reasoning that happens, and it struggles to keep up. So the mind literally says, this is not real, as a way of protecting us from the overload. Let me give you some real life examples here. After a loved one leaves their body, we say, this can't be true, because we are not ready to accept the reality yet. In a breakup, we keep waiting for that message or a call that would never come. And most important, survivors of any sort of abuse, they might think, maybe it wasn't that bad. Maybe I just imagined it. Because the full truth is too heavy to face at once. Then comes the second stage. That's the anger. We may feel angry at people, at God, at ourselves, at life itself. And that's totally okay. Anger is just an energy and it is natural. We experience it when the reality sinks in. It shows the intensity of our love and our attachment. Many people judge themselves for feeling angry, but it is an energy that needs to be expressed. It needs an expression. In spirituality, anger is the Shakti rising. It is a raw energy but without any direction. It shows us how much we cared. And science says anger is the body in the fight mode. It is linked to the adrenaline and cortisol flooding in the body. Adrenaline speeds up the heart, makes our body tense, keeps it ready to fight. And cortisol is a stress and survival hormone, keeps the body on high alert. These chemicals flow through the whole nervous system. In this state, we are not just angry in our mind, but our whole biology is preparing us for a fight with the reality itself. That's why anger feels fiery. It's literally energy rushing through us and demands for a release. Now, let me give some real life examples. After losing someone, we might think, why did God take them? Why me? This is the most common reaction that we might all express. After betrayal in any relationship, there comes this question. How could they do this after everything that I gave? After trauma or exploitation, we feel anger at the abuser, at the society, and at ourselves, and sometimes even at the God. Now let's talk about the third stage. After anger, there comes bargaining. This is when we say, if I had only done this differently. It's our brain's way to negotiate with the reality. Bargaining shows us how deeply we wish to hold on, how human our desire for control is. In spiritual context, bargaining is a prayer mixed with fear. The soul whispers, maybe the universe undo my loss. It reveals our longing for our control in a world that ultimately runs by the divine will. In science, bargaining is linked to the brain's reward and prediction circuits. These are the dopamine pathways. They release dopamine whenever we imagine a different outcome, which is why mind keeps repeating, replaying what-if situations constantly during this bargaining stage. Let me give you some real-life examples here. After losing someone, we may think, only if I had taken them to the hospital earlier, they might have survived. After a breakup, we may think, if I change myself, maybe they might come back. After we experience some sort of abuse, we may think, if I had kept quiet, maybe it wouldn't have escalated. Also, if I had not been at that place at that particular point of time, that might have not happened to me at all. Then comes the fourth stage, the very important and crucial stage, depression. That silence, that emptiness, the heaviness of reality starts to settle in. This stage is not at all a weakness. It is the depth of our love echoing back as sorrow. The most important thing that anyone can do in this stage is do not carry it alone. Share it with someone you trust, or at least speak it back to the universe. Grief is not meant to be locked away in silence because silence creates resistance. Here, we gotta sit with our feelings, and most importantly, it is not to get stuck here alone. From the spiritual perspective, this is the dark night of the soul. Here, the silence takes over, but this silence is sacred. In this silence, in this stillness, the seeds of healing are being planted. So, depression is never a punishment. It is where the healing begins. And science tells us that during depression, our serotonin and dopamine levels dip in. It feels like emptiness, but biologically, it's the body forcing rest so that we can process the pain. In real life, when we lose someone, we might not want to get out of our bed, and we feel life has no meaning. After a betrayal, we lose interest in everything that once mattered the most. And now comes the final stage, acceptance. We gotta accept the reality. Whatever that happened, happened for a reason. This is not forgetting, this is not moving on, it is moving with whatever that happened. We carry the memory, the love, and the lesson forward. In this stage, we stop resisting. We see the life and death, endings and beginnings, are part of a continuous flow. This is a stage of integration but not forgetting, and we live with the new reality. And acceptance doesn't mean the pain is gone. It means the pain no longer resists our life. In spiritual view, acceptance is surrender, not to fate but to the truth. The soul finally begins to breathe in here. Grief is transformed into love and carried forward. Science describes acceptance as the moment where the brain's frontal lobe, responsible for decision making, integrates the loss. Here, the neural pathways adjust, rewire, and create a new story. In real life, someone who lost their parent keeps their photo close and finds peace in honoring their memory. After a breakup, a person realizes their true worth and starts living their life again. It's not erasing the love, but transforming it. A trauma survivor speaks their truth and begins to help others, turning their pain into purpose. So ultimately, grief is not a weakness. Grief is love at its rawest form. But when we allow ourselves to feel, sit with it, share it, it transforms. It becomes compassion. So wherever you are, whether it's denial, anger, bargaining, depression, or acceptance, always remember that you're not alone. Everyone, every individual soul goes through it in their life. We are never alone in this universe. Now comes the real question. How do we walk through these stages? In my next video, I want to share about the tools that help us process grief. Things like giving ourselves time, embracing creativity, and reconnecting with the vibration through art, music, and dance, and the role they play in healing. Because our bodies are not just meant to hold pain. They are instruments that vibrate, that move, that express. And when we allow that, grief begins to transform. So stay with me, because in the next part, we'll go deeper into the ways we can heal, not just survive. Thank you so much for listening today. I hope you have a great day, great life. Namaskaram.